maybe this time they'll come. When I became a pastor in my first church after seminary, I was all excited that we were going to have our first fall revival. I asked people one Sunday, I said, if you got any lost people you want me to visit or that I can visit with you, that we can invite, that we can meet in preparation for this week of revival, let me know. And an older man named Chalmer came up to me. Chalmer said, Brother Dan, if you've got the time, next week, I want to take you around and introduce you to all my relatives so that we can invite them. And so that next week, he introduced me to all the relatives he could find. Some of them were glad to see us drop by. Some of them were not too glad to see us drop by. But we dropped by. We laid the groundwork. We contacted them. We invited them to the revival. Next Sunday morning, revival was supposed to start Monday night. An older man came up to Chalmer while I was standing there and said, Chalmer, what are you doing? You're just wearing out our young preacher. At the time I was only 25. I don't know why you drug him around to see all those people. Our church has stood here on this spot for over 150 years. If they want to come, they know where to find us. And you've invited them over and over and over again, and they have never darkened the door of our church. I looked at Chalmer. His head dropped to the floor. My heart sank. And then he picked his head right up. And with a big smile on his face, he looked at that brother and said, but maybe this time they'll come. It's so easy to give in and let past failure lead us to not even trying anymore. And some people would say, well, Chalmer, he was just not on the right course anyway, because he was inviting. That's the come and hear type of approach to evangelism. That's not cool anymore. We have to do the go and tell. But there's an interesting case in John chapter 1. Jesus calls Philip to be his disciple. It says in verse 43, the next day Jesus decided to go to Galilee, and he found Philip and said to him, follow me. But Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said, we have found him of whom Moses in the law and all the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. So Philip goes to Nathanael, and he does the go and tell. He says, we have found the Messiah. And he's so excited because Jesus has called him, but he doesn't just want to follow Jesus alone. He wants Nathanael to also follow Jesus, so he goes and shares with him. It's kind of like ants, you know. You never have one ant at a picnic. If one ant finds you, then all of a sudden you've got his aunt aunts and his aunt cousins and his aunt uncles, and our picnic becomes their picnic. And Philip was like that. He had tasted the wonder of Jesus, the Messiah, and told Nathanael. But Nathanael's not too excited about this news. Nathanael said to him, can anything good come out of Nazareth? And Philip said, come and see. The people living in Judea considered the people in Galilee hillbillies. They were uncultured. They were almost barbarians. And of all the cities in Galilee, even other cities considered Nazareth kind of like a little wide spot in the middle of the road. It was nothing. And Nathanael is probably thinking, I've never heard of a prophecy that the Messiah is going to come from Nazareth, maybe Bethlehem, but not Nazareth. And I don't even think anything good can come out of there. And at this point, Philip has done the go and tell. But look what he does. He says to him, Philip says to him, come and see. He invited him to come meet Jesus. He invited him to come where Jesus and those who he'd already called to be his disciples or was calling to be his disciples were gathered. And when he did, Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him and said, behold, an Israelite in whom there is no deceit. This is an honest man coming. He gave an honest reply, said, I don't think anything good can come out of Nazareth. And Nathanael said, how do you know me? And Jesus said, before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. And Nathanael answered, Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. You see, when Philip went and told him, the reaction wasn't immediately positive. And Philip could have said, okay, you just don't want to hear. But Philip could have pulled out his arguments and said, no, let me tell you why I know this. But instead, he just said, come and see. And Nathanael came and saw. His life was changed forever. What would have happened if Philip had given up? What would have happened if Philip said, okay, you don't want to hear, I'm headed to Galilee, bye. No, he kept on. He went and told, then he said, come and hear. And when he came and he heard, lives were changed. We need to go to people with the gospel. Of course, we need to share our faith in the workplace and any place we can. We need to go to people and share the gospel, but we don't need to be ashamed to invite them to come and hear, come and see what God is doing in our midst, to invite them to church events of all sorts. Whether it's the go and tell or the come and see, we need to practice both. And we need to keep practicing it regardless of whether people respond the first time or haven't responded after 25 times. As I do shopping here in Ukraine, sometimes I see grandmothers and there's a sale on apples. And they will go through 25 bad apples to find one good one. And then they'll buy it. And every time I see that, it burdens my heart. Because I think they're more determined to find an apple than sometimes I am to keep going and keep sharing and keep inviting to find that one or two or three or four people that are open to the gospel. I love Chalmers' heart. Because even though they had never come, he was like Philip. He said, no, I'm not going to give in that easy. And the whole time thinking, maybe this time they'll come. Let us be like Chalmers. Let us be like Philip. Let us keep praying for and inviting and touching the lives of people thinking, maybe this time, maybe this time.